going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the time over to Heather Green. She works at Oxbow Academy, and she's going to be discussing the Good Lives model. Some time ago, I started, just by chance, stumbled across this, and I've done some superficial research into it, and really like what I see. So I'm very excited to hear more in depth about what she has to present. So with that, I'll turn the time over to you, Heather. If anyone needs a handout that's missed one, please raise your hand and I'll bring them by. If you're missing one, just let me know. Turn it over to you, Heather. Thank you.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, good. Let's see. The information I'm going to be presenting today is from the Self-Regulation Model of the Offense and Relapse Process, a manual, volume 2, and it's entitled Treatment. It's a little tiny book, and it's about 70 plus bucks. So, I hate doing this right after lunch, so my assistant here, Cassie, said that if I start to see people falling asleep, she said she'll do a little dance for us. So
we'll do the wave.
Yeah, the wave. Okay. So my name is Heather Green, and I am a graduate of the University of Utah's Graduate School of Social Work. And working with individuals who had committed sexual offenses was the furthest thing from my mind when I entered school. In fact, I really didn't even know that treatment existed for adults, let alone the kids. And I have never lived a sheltered life by any means, but when I started into this field, I was pretty naive to the epidemic of sexual abuse. It was in my second year at the U that I aggressively sought my internship at the prison. I mean, that was the number one reason I went to graduate school, because I wanted to work in the prison. So when I was assigned the sex offender unit, I was like, oh great. So I had strategized how to get out of it, but I said, no, I can't lose this placement. So I took a risk and found some courage and went ahead and did it. And I'm so glad that I did, because in '99, which is when that internship started, it just changed my life and put me on a professional path that I have just been incredibly happy about, and the work has become almost addicting for me, that I really have to try and balance that. I have enjoyed working with individuals with serious sexual behavioral problems, in the sense that they are in desperate need of our help to not only help them hold themselves accountable and to keep the community safe, but certainly also to help them find a life that is meaningful and happy. I strongly believe that we are also big-time victim advocates. And I don't know about you, but I have often been criticized for working with this population. And to the degree that when my husband's friends or associates ask me what I do for a living, I'll keep it generally vague and general if I'm not in the mood to be physically or verbally attacked. However, if I am in the mood, then I will share it, and we're generally off to a very lively debate and discussion. And it is at that time that I always express to them that we are victims of sexual abuse's #1 advocates. Without us, the people that are working with the offenders, who is going to do appropriate victim-offender reunification, who's going to help the offender, and oftentimes it's from us where actual disclosures are made by our clients, which allows us to obviously report and also get the help that victims need as well. And so I just just kind of wanted to share that and remind us that we are not just therapists working with the offenders, but we are also in here to help victims as well. As a result of my internship at the prison, I ended up staying after graduation up until about last year, and I've had the opportunity to work with men, women, sexual offenders, and also the mentally ill. It was in 2001 that I actually started on the side working with juveniles at the Pine Creek Ranch in a residential setting. It was level 4 at the time. Now it is considered to be level 5. And I just absolutely fell in love with the kids and the people that I worked with, that I last year ended up leaving the prison, working with adults, and now am exclusively working with the kids. And I actually oversee the Pine Creek Ranch, which is our state program, and also Oxbow Academy, which is a private program for kids with sexual issues. And then finally, since about 2006, I started working with LDS Family Services outpatient program in their sexual abuse treatment team program. And I have really appreciated that experience, because working in the prison and then working in residential, it just gave me a lot more insight in kind of what we need to do in residential to appropriately help them move to the community, and also just working with the kids that have never been in residential and working on how to manage them and to provide treatment in a really safe way. So for somebody that didn't want to work with this population, like I said, I just feel incredibly lucky to have found this niche right now, and feel fortunate to have gotten to do it in such a variety of settings. So before I begin talking about the Good Lives model today, I just really have to say that I'm not easily intimidated, but I've been kind of anxious as I started this, working on this presentation, because I so much respect what you all do, that it's just been really hard to figure out how I'm going to come up here and talk about this with you, because I'm sure many of you are more able to do this than I am. In fact, it was at a meeting at NOJOS that it was Michelle Worley that introduced the idea of the Good Lives model. And not wanting to appear or sound dumb, I kept quiet and just nodded my head like I knew exactly what she was talking about, and went home and researched the book, ordered the manual, and then just have been studying it. And I'm so glad I did that. And the whole time I'm thinking, how in the crap does she keep up with all of this? I mean, we are so busy all of the time just doing the work, that without people like Michelle and other NOJOS committees, I just think there are things that we would miss or be delayed in terms of getting information that is the newest and most helpful in working with our kids. And so I just really want to thank the NOJOS committee for all that they do for us and contributing to this bill, because I have now had the opportunity to work with private kids for about a year, and all of our private kids come from other states. And I just can't even begin to tell you how many judges, POs, psychologists have no idea how to do psychosexuals, what to look for, and then don't have the level system like we do in order to appropriately place their kids. Some states don't even have programs for juveniles, and their families have, I don't know how they found us, but are placing them in at record rates in order to get treatment for their kids versus adjudication in states that are where they're being faced with the sex offender registry as young as, 14, 15, 16 years of age. So there are 6 things that I want to cover today. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. And there's a lot of kind of intricate information about this particular model. And however, in preparation, I've just selected some things that I think were helpful for me when I reviewed the information. And so I just would ask that you guys feel free to ask questions, give comments. I'm certainly not an expert on this model, so just if you correct me on anything, just don't humiliate me, that's all I ask. But find a way how to make it look good. So, so the 6 things that I want to address today are the current perspectives regarding the relapse prevention model and the need for change, review of the most current and effective treatment for sex offender therapy. Then I'm going to move on to the Good Lives model explanation, followed by general principles and assumptions of the Good Lives model, implications of it, and case formulation. Before we get into that, I'm just wondering, have we all kind of introduced ourselves? Did we do that in the first presentation to kind of see where everybody is coming from? Can we just take a minute and do that real quick so we can just see who everybody is and where you're from, maybe what you do? Can we do that real quick? We'll start here.
I'm Gina Millard. I work for the Department of Child and Family Services. I'm a caseworker.
Okay, great.
I'm Sarah Nolan. I also work for the DCFS as a permanency caseworker.
And I'm Shelley Schumann with DCFS as well.
My name is John Garis. I'm a sex offender therapist with CY Roby and Associates in Orem.
Great.
I'm Cassie Greslick. I'm the Quality Assurance Director for Ascent and the Assistant Admissions Director for Oxbow Academy.
Gary Michaels, therapist. Gary McFarland, Arctic West Star Program.
It's kind of good to put faces, because some of you guys I know, I've never met you, but I recognize your names.
Joe Gordon, Arctic Star Program.
Okay.
Jessica Conradi, I'm the student intern at Mental Health CBTU.
Paul Carver, I'm clinical supervisor of a level 8 residential sex offender unit for juvenile justice services.
Great.
Richard Johnston, I'm a therapist at Mill Creek Youth Center in Ogden.
Oh, good, okay.
Catherine Wright, DCFS, Family Preservation.
Okay.
Karen Seeley, Utah Youth Village.
Red Sea, Utah Youth Village.
Okay.
I'm Jeff Bright with Utah Youth Village, the intake coordinator.
Christina Duke, I'm working in DCFS as an ongoing casework.
Okay.
David Algon, Utah Youth Village, treatment group.
Chris Backby, Copper Hills Youth Center, Lansdowne.
Brian Bose, Copper Hills Youth Center, Lansdowne.
Okay.
Cody Marchand, Copper Hills Youth Center in Lansdowne.
Okay.
I'm Colette Cole, Copper Hills Youth Center, Lansdowne.
Okay.
John Hill, LDS Family Services over in Sandy.
Claudia Sion with Cottonwood Treatment Center therapist.
Mike Fillmore, LDS Family Services in Sandy.
Amy Spratling, Safe and Healthy Families.
Angela Shields, Safe and Healthy Families.
Steve Johnson, Family Services.
Teresa Bliss, Copper Hills Program Director. James Mansell, Line Staff, Copper Hills.
Robin Rose, Copper Hills, Lansdowne. Savannah Wilson, Copper Hills, Lansdowne. Sarah Childs, Copper Hill, Lansdowne.
Amanda Freeman, Copper Hills, Lansdowne.
Good. You guys are good.
Maya Tovo, Lansdowne. Mona Viola from Copper Hills, Lansdowne.
Noah Bion Household Tawa, Copper Hills Youth Center, Lansdowne. Sharon Lopez, Sorensen Branch School. It's a long-term adolescent treatment program. I'm the clinical director.
And I'm with that same facility. My name's Octavia Horton, and I'm case manager.
Ryan Beveridge, Safe and Healthy Families.
Todd Barley, this is my wife Jennifer. We're family teachers and we're the offender home with Utah Youth for 20
My name's Amanda Larson. I'm a behavior specialist with CPT. My name's Marina. I'm also a CPT with mental health. Howdy, I can stand. I'm a therapist with
Jim Mock, I'm also a therapist with ISAT.
Vivian White, clinical supervisor, LJS families, Miss Valley.
Liz Harward, home supervisor at Default Assistant. Jen Maples, assistant home supervisor at Default Assistant. I'm Alexa from Arkansas.
Megan White, Arkansas.
Katie Marsh, UT Coach.
Carolyn Kill, Florida Youth Therapist.
I'm Manuel with Therapy in Your Face.
Stacy McKenzie with Utah Youth Children's
Wayne Arter, I'm Cathedral Faith Coach, I'm a director.
Stacy Brubaker, Valley Mental Health, CBC Therapist.
Jenny Grishnak, Valley Mental Health Therapist with RTD treatments.
Rick Rollins, supervisor of our assessment treatment program.
Okay, thank you. Did we get everybody? All right. I just think it's nice to get to kind of hear people's names and faces. I'm sure maybe there's several of us that we've talked with but didn't really know. So, okay. So, starting with our first objective, which is new perspectives in the relapse prevention model. The authors of the Good Lives model, which Tony Ward, Pamela Yates, and Carmen Long, are arguing now that a major shift in treatment needs to change in the treatment of this population. Up to the present time, the premier therapy for kids and even adults with sexual offending issues has been cognitive behavioral therapy with a strong relapse prevention component. We all familiar with this? Okay. With relapse prevention, we all recognize that the goal is to help the clients identify their offense patterns, their risk factors, intervention, and it's essentially about helping them manage their risk, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy has been a long part of what's called the risk needs model, which remains an extremely powerful rehabilitation theory, which states that treatment with this population should be guided by 3 principles, which is the first one is there should be a match between the level of risk proposed by the individual and the actual amount of intervention received. The intensity and type of intervention received should be dependent upon the level of risk presented by the individual. You know, I know Utah's not perfect, and I know we're not the model of whatever, but I think we do a fantastic, I think we do a very good job in our psychosexual risk assessments where we're not only evaluating their risk, but our psychologists, for the most part, are trained as far as where the kid needs to be placed. Is it a level 1? Is it a level 2? Is it a level 3? Level 4? And so this is what that is talking about. The second principle is the need principle. Programs should primarily target criminogenic needs, meaning their dynamic risk factors associated with recidivism that can be changed through intervention. Non-offending factors should be avoided as treatment targets. So let's say we have a kid, well, let's say our program has a substance abuse group, but the kid doesn't have substance abuse issues. We're not going to put him in a substance abuse group. And then the responsivity principle, which is concerned with the program's ability to ensure that the clients are able to absorb the content of the program, can understand the treatment material and information in the context of their own lives, and subsequently change their behavior. The relapse prevention model has been evaluated by leading researchers in the field, and what they're finding is that this does not lead to reduced recidivism rates, which has caused a lot of widespread debate about its limitations. And one research project in particular said that the relapse prevention model not only did it not reduce recidivism rates, but it was too highly structured and did not allow for individual intervention. As a consequence, the model does not give our clients enough motivation to want to change and did not allow for all of their personal treatment targets to be addressed. And in short, the program by itself did not meet the risk needs model. Most cognitive behavioral therapy programs for kids right now are either based on or incorporate the relapse prevention model. And this has occurred over the years despite some problems with it. And I think we all kind of have known that we borrowed it from substance abuse and we've tried to make it work for us. But new research is indicating that this is probably not the path that we're going to stay on. However, current literature questions its applicability to our guys, and also there's no empirical evidence that is supporting its use. And it's argued that the application of the relapse prevention model has several different flaws, and I just kind of want to briefly go over that. One is that it's lacking a framework specific to sexual offenders and to cognitive behavioral intervention with this group. So there is no evidence, for example, to suggest that our kids often have difficulty abstaining from sexual offensive behavior following successful treatment, say an alcoholic would, or somebody that had more serious substance abuse issues. Additionally, the goal of treatment is to not have the offenders, our kids, abstain from sexual activity or not getting their needs met. So it's not an abstinence type of model. Secondly, it's argued that the relapse prevention model is insufficiently sensitive to the heterogeneity and diversity evident among this population. So the relapse prevention model, for example, usually follows a single way for an individual to commit a sex offense, which usually is as a result of poor self-regulation problems, maybe negative emotional states, and a desire on the person's part to really abstain from the behavior. However, many of us in working with these kids know that some of them do have intact regulation problems, and prior to an offense are feeling fine, meaning that they're feeling aroused, they're feeling anticipation, they're feeling nervousness about what they're about to do. It's also unrealistic, the authors argue, for our guys to predict all of the ways that they could lead to an offense and therefore try and control their environment. What they're saying is that what makes more sense is to do more help them find higher order of goals and values and strengths in order to get them preoccupied doing positive things rather